for the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
I think, that's as high as, it goes so far in my career, and obviously looking to, do more, obviously, but so far that's been, I guess, my highest.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I'm lying. It's not.
Not Knicks.
No, it's not.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the All Rounders SA podcast. What a day that we have on the podcast today. Nons, what's happening? Are you good? You 100%?
That's such a big question to ask.
Yeah.
Are you 100%?
Nah, no, I'm not.
Are you 100%?
I'm operating on 70% at
I
the
think we're
moment.
splitting 100 throughout the week.
Yeah.
Because we're there, but
Yeah,
we're not there. But
yeah.
it's all
Yeah. Nons, I've got a story to tell you before. Well, it's part of my introduction of our guest today. So I watched the BNL for a couple of seasons.
What's
and
a BNL?
The Basketball National League,
Okay, yeah.
which is the national league here in South Africa. Okay. And I was watching a couple of players there that caught my interest. One of them was as an Afrikaans guy by the name of Peter Prinsloo. Very uncompromising guy, very, very aggressive, very difficult for defense teams to try and close down. He is Afrikaans. The name suggests Peter Prinsloo. But when Peter Prinsloo speaks, it's nothing like Peter Prinsloo.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nothing like Peter Prinsloo. Then I watched another guy. And he was the one that caught my attention a lot more because he was flashy, he was flamboyant. Every time he scored threes, he would engage with the crowd. He was that guy. Okay. And then I followed, and then there was the BAL, which the Cape Town Tigers played in 2023 and 2024, which was so awesome because you got to see some of the South African talent mix it up with continental talent. And this guy, he goes by the name of Samkelo Cele, a product of Durban High School. Then went over to Oklahoma in the United States of America. And then and he's played for various teams, right? But I think the most important one was when he got picked up by the New York Knicks this year in the Summer League of the NBA, which is big in itself. So we'll get there. So without further ado, Nons, we'd like to welcome on our show today the Cape Town Tigers, New York Knicks, Oklahoma College, Marist College in the United States of America, Durban High School. No. But Durban stand up for Samkelo Cele. That was a long intro.
I was about to say that's one of your longest
That's
intros.
my longest intro. Yeah. But it was a nice story, because I watched this guy. Yeah?
Sure,
Sam, what's happening, bruh?
Oh, we're here. That was a great intro, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me here, man. It's exciting. I'm ready to talk to you guys.
I know you're quite busy in training and stuff. Right. There's a lot of other exciting things that are coming up in your career. Right. But it's great to have you on the show. We wanted to have a little bit of a catch up, get to know you.
For sure.
And sort of speak about your career in basketball. I mean, it's one of those sporting codes in South Africa that, for me, who's followed it, has a presence. But for a lot of other people, they might not recognize basketball as one of the mainstream sports in South Africa.
For sure.
Your career in basketball, how it started. We spoke about, obviously, in the intro, going to Durban High School, and that's where you really played a lot of your basketball.
Right.
How did it start? Why? When? And how?
Just
It's a lot of questions.
Right. I think it started in I want to say like 2011. Yeah. 2011 going to 2012. Driving from schools on a bus, from school, which I guess previously it started like I was at home chilling, at night, couldn't sleep, and then obviously, basketball is usually a very, very late
time
hours.
zone.
Yeah. So scrolling through TV, come across the Lakers. I forgot who they were playing, but it was Kobe, you know, so I was like, okay, this sport is actually, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, so I watched it a little bit, and then, you know, when I watched it again the following day and again. I was like, okay, I like this sport. And so I just asked around. I was like, do we have this around here? You know, because it's something I'd like to try. And, you know, nobody had answers for me. And then I think one of the days I was driving from school, I was on a bus, and I mentioned that to one of my guys, and he was like, you know what, actually, there's a basketball team, Claremont is where I'm from. Right? And so he's like, yeah, there's actually a basketball team here. One of my friends is on there, so I can go introduce you to them, and then, you know, you can take it from there.
Yeah.
So, you know, he did that, and that was 20 don't remember the exact date, but I think 2011, 2012. You know, and then that's where it all started, I think.
And Durban High School, how did that happen?
It happened through Coach Led. You know, may his soul rest in peace. He just, you know, he passed last year. But yeah, he saw me play. He loved my passion. He loved how I play at the time. And you know, he said, you know, there's a few things we can polish and, you know, make better. But you know, he saw a lot of potential in me. And he was like, listen, I think it's probably best for you to come to DHS, and you know, the rest is history.
I'm always fascinated the early parts. I mean, you know, like Pila said, basketball is generally not in our mainstream sport.
It's not.
At all.
Growing up, KZN.
I think it's okay to say. It's not.
Growing up KZN, growing up Gauteng, growing up. I mean, as a black person, generally the obvious other. So was it something maybe that you were involved in your early stages, or was it straight away when you saw basketball that was your thing that you were attracted to?
When I saw it, I was attracted to it.
Wow.
Like, because obviously I think the sport I was privy to when I was younger was soccer. You know, because I never saw my dad play soccer, but it was stories that he was a great goalkeeper, great dad, and so like I was like, I mean, you know, I think I could be a good goalkeeper too. You know, I'll go play soccer, which it turned out, you know, to be like that. You know, like, you know, did good with that, and I did like track and fields. You know, so those are the sports that I like knew growing up, and then like when I saw basketball on TV, I was like, we have this here? I want to try it. And then when I tried it, I loved it.
And as a South African, I mean, it was how easy for you then to naturally gravitate. I mean, you seem like straight away that was something that you.
As a South African, it was like it became tough when because obviously when I'm starting, right, everything is difficult. So like all the games that I get to play are like the best games because obviously, you know, I'm just starting and, you know, all the guys that I'm playing against have been playing basketball for a while. So, you know, but I think the progression of getting better, you know what I mean? Like from the day I first got to the practice and I got the ball and started running, you know, the laughter that broke out because it was like, bro,
what are you doing?
You gotta dribble. You gotta dribble. So I'm like, oh, I didn't know you gotta do that. You know, and
traveling.
Right. They just like bust out laughing. So I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like I see you guys running with the ball. So like, nah, you gotta dribble. Blah blah blah. So you know, like learning how to dribble, learning how to shoot. You know what I mean, and learning how to now change direction, change speed or whatever. So like just that process of just getting better, I think, is what probably like stuck me into like basketball a little bit more because I think with all the other sports like track and field, I was fast naturally. You know, I could jump high naturally with high jump. You know, soccer was natural. So like outside of practice that we had with the team, I never did anything else. It was just like practice, boom, game, practice, game, and you know, it was just fine. With track, I don't even think I've had any like coaching. I never had no coaching.
No technical stuff.
None. I just could jump, you know, from the hood, right?
You're jumping.
Natural athletes. So like, I never had no coaching in all these other sports. And so with basketball, like the fact that I had to do stuff more outside of practice to get better, I think is what like made me fall in love a little bit more. You know what I mean? And so, that translated to like high school, you know, came across high schools that were really good. You know, the Peter Marisburg College was good at the time at basketball. And so like, it became, you have to get better at this, have to get better at that. And so like, just the process of getting better, I think, was what made basketball even more fun, and it still is right now because, you know, I can still get better, right? So,
Did your dad understand this direction of going to the basketball? Because, I mean, growing up, you were saying that you never watched your dad play football, but you heard stories, and he obviously was entrenched in the football culture. Did he understand that, hey, there's this basketball thing now that this kid wants to do? And
around the time I started like playing, he wasn't around. You know, he passed away. But like even growing up, like I heard stories about him. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't like really around like that. So like so like it was just my mom and my grandma. You know what I mean? So like all the stories that I heard kind of inspired me, I guess, to play soccer or whatever, because I was like, oh, I guess this guy seemed like a cool guy. You know, so but you know. But
did the family then understand this basketball thing, because it was not within the family sort of roots?
I'm from the hood, bro. So you know, you already know. So if I choose a sport that's out of the norm, you know, it's like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of like some of the guys that I went to church with played soccer. So they played for Amazulu, Golden Arrows. You know, I think one of the guys even played for South Africa. I think under 18 at that time. So he was traveling, you know, country. You know what I mean? So like he was always like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was always like that. So it's like, yo, man, can I get some basketball shoes? Hey. You know what I mean? Like, right. So like I think, you know, it was always like a hard conversation to have, and then I think when DHS came along, and my mom didn't have to like pay school fees now. I think started getting a little soft. It wasn't fully there.
But
it started getting a little soft. It's like, you're gonna go to a great school without me having to pay. Okay, I think I like this. You know, and so like now it went from all the requests that I had for basketball, they started becoming a little
easier to accept.
Hey, you know what I mean? Like, you know. So it was just uphill battles, you know, with hood parents that aren't used to something.
I played soccer as well growing up, and obviously I ended up playing professional cricket. But like the challenge for me was always not challenge necessarily. What attracted me to cricket a lot more was the traveling, right? So soccer, I mean, it's
you only
hood to hood, basically. I mean, it's not. But cricket started taking me out of province to other places, and we ended up traveling the country. What was that thing for you? Like maybe that was like, okay, cool. This is driving this passion. Was it still what you've seen on TV, or I mean, what really brought you to the basketball side?
Like I said, like, you know, the TV sparked the interest, right? And I think, because I had from Claremont, bro. Like like, you know, been back and forth to like the main CBD, TV, and that's it. Like, you know, I never had thoughts of even like going to Okoholi or whatever, right? So basketball, like, I think was just the pure sport that I just fell in love with the sport. Like whatever it came with, I only got to enjoy after I was involved in it, you know what I mean? But but for the most part, it was just like
the game itself.
The game itself. And I just liked the fact that, you know, like last year I wasn't good at making a layup. Now I'm one of the best ones, you know, like on a fast break or whatever, you know what I mean? Like now I can dunk, you know, like the progression of getting better, like I mentioned earlier, it's just like, you know, that's what got me into basketball. And I think that's still like, you know, got me, you know what I mean, like around the sport. So the traveling the world, traveling South Africa was a bonus, you know what I mean? And so like, you know, everything that it's gotten me so far has been, you know, just a bonus. But like I'd never thought like, okay, if I play basketball, because I'd never seen anybody in the hood, like, you know, play basketball. So like there was never like a blueprint that I was gonna follow. You know what I mean? And so like it was just, you know, just faith and just the love of the sport.
I mean, in terms of school now, like it's weird in South Africa that basketball now has become a really big sport amongst school level. And all your private schools are basically turning fields into basketball.
There's director of basketball now.
I mean, there's look at him. He's like, yes. I love it. It's actually one of the fastest growing, I mean, sports in the country. Level, but like when you're thinking about it now. Was it like that when you were growing up? Was it were you your early parts of that journey?
No, man. Like obviously, I've never dissed anybody's sport, right? But it was always more like cricket had more teams than basketball, bro. You know what I mean?
Now it's changing.
I know.
It's other way around.
Trust me, I know.
Oh, you do know.
We
We are complaining right now.
Trust me, I know.
We're like, why are these guys playing basketball now?
Can they make it a winter sport? Actually,
Like, listen, like I think when I was in high school, grade 10, I think the under 16s only had the A and B team.
Yeah.
You know, under 14s only went up to C.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like now when I hear it, there's like
now it's completely
EF.
opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, what? Who do they even play against? You know what I mean? So, you know, because it was cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket, rugby had,
Thousands of
you know what I
teams,
mean? They even had socials.
Yes.
Like what?
touch rugby.
You know what I mean? Like
When I went to Pretoria Boys, I was shocked in Pretoria Boys how big it is in Pretoria Boys.
So I think basketball being I think now with the BAL even coming to South Africa, I think has kind of given basketball the attention that it longed for a very long time. And so like now I think because again your rugby, your cricket, your soccer, it's easy to aspire to to be something, or because it's right here. You know what I mean? If you play soccer, I guess is it still called the PSL?
Yes.
Betway
Premiership.
Yeah. That. So you see. I guess
always on
for my time, I guess, because I can say that too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my time, like there was, the development leagues, or Amazulu, or and so, but you could like, PSL is right there. So if I play, that's where I'm gonna get to, right? Yeah. Cricket, you see all
structures
these,
in place,
right, or rugby, and so it was easier to navigate, your passion and I guess direction with those sports. So that's why I think kids were more motivated to, be a part of those. So like now that the BAL is here and the kids see the coverage and how, the guys get treated if they do good or whatever. So I think, now they're starting to gravitate towards basketball a little bit more. And I love it, man, because like the attention basketball had when I was coming up, it was there, but it was within the confines of the basketball community. So like now it's which is funny, right? I was at an event like on Saturday, and the amount of people that recognized me, I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So so I was like,
was you one of them? He was like,
from like younger like girls, even like some older guys. I was like, oh crap, that's what I mean.
Nice.
I was like,
so doing something
cool.
right.
Well, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, cause it was the funny one. I was getting food. I'm standing, just I'm not friendly when I'm by myself, right? You know what I mean? Like I got my shades on, I'm like waiting, hungry. You know what I mean? And then like these two like ladies come up to me, like Samkelo. I was like, I got my shades on, I had my hat on like this, bro, because you know what I mean? Like, because I see like some people like recognize, so like now to like kind of, keep my...
Trying to be discreet.
Yeah, I just try to, put my hat low, but they still saw that. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, So so I think the attention that basketball has and it's getting now, I think is good. And that's why we see, the opposite of, what it was before with cricket, soccer, rugby, So, but it's great to see. I love it.
On that though, because I want to expand on that. Like, does the attention sort of bother you? Do you accept it? Because you come from a sporting community that previously hadn't had the attention. Now it's getting the attention. Do you embrace it? Do you find it hard to accept that people recognize you now?
It's cool. I don't care. I don't care. Like, so long as I think how it is in South Africa versus like other countries is different, right? Because when I stopped by Burundi, coming back, in the summer, over there, guys don't respect like your privacy, bro. Like they don't care. Like,
they just go,
bro.
Selfie
like
quick.
They see you, like they will follow you, bro, to your like your place.
Serious?
Like you know what I mean? Yeah. So like I think the difference between like that and here is like, see you playing, keep doing your thing. Boom, and that's normal. That's you know what I mean. That's a great fun interaction. And if they want pictures, that's great. You know what I mean. So it's. Again, I didn't play for the travel, the attention, or whatever. I just played for the love, right? And so, like, all the things that come with, the extra, I embrace them, and I keep it pushing.
After DHS, you go across to America.
Right.
how's that experience for you? You know, was it now a thing of this basketball thing is starting to get serious? I'm taking it seriously. I've got opportunities outside of what I thought was the only thing or the confines of my environment, which was DHS Durban. But now it's becoming a little bit more serious. I'm getting attention from outside of South Africa. How was that for you, and how was that American experience moving straight from Durban and going there?
Yeah, so like I said, right, when I started, that's all I knew because that's what was around me, right? So I started playing, and again, all the teams I played against were the best teams, or like were the best talent that I played against, right? And so like, but as I progressed and as I got better at basketball, it started being like, okay,
there's
like
something.
I started looking around, and it's just like, where are these guys? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So like the progression was fast, was great, and so like it got to a point where like when I was in matric, like I was one of like the best guys like in high school, right? And so like I said to myself, well, one of my brothers, not biological, is my brothers, Isaac, he had always said, like since grade 10, he always said, I have potential. And I was like, whatever, man. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and, but when I got to grade 11, I started seeing like the guys that I was like this with, like start like falling a little bit back. You know what I mean? And so like, and he was like, you probably don't want to go to college here. And I was like, you know what? You're actually right, because I want
Isaac from Rock Nation.
So been locked in with him like since grade 10. You know what I mean? So like so he always said like, yo, you're not gonna play here. So and then well, the more I paid attention to I guess university basketball, can't call it college here, right? So university basketball, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right, because some of the guys, I think me and my team played better than while we in high school. You know what I mean? And that's supposed to be like, you know what I mean?
The level is different.
Right. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's not where I want to play at, because like when I play there, the ceiling is right there. And it's too low for me. You know what I mean? So when the United States came about, it was like, okay, cool. Now I can go test, how good I really am. You know what I mean? Like against a country that breeds
and eats and sleeps and
you feel me?
Does this thing.
Right. So I think that was a great challenge, because again, from the hood, right? Competition is never something that we shy away from, right? So got there. Was in North Carolina when I first got there. Prep school, Bull City Prep.
Bull City Prep.
It was great. Like my first game out there was like preseason stuff. Had about like 8 or 11 points. Coach was like, "Yo, you're better than these cats, man. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be scoring more, right?" And when he said that, because again, like you go from being
the guy.
A shark, in a dang
small pond,
you know what I mean, to now being like a shark in the ocean. It's a lot of them, right? Right, and so like they faster, they strong, they jump as high as you, and so coach is like, listen, you're here for a reason,
That's nice.
Right? You're here for a reason. These guys, you're better than them, And I was like, oh crap, and I believe that. Right? And so the next game had 30. And then like, right,
from like 8 points to like 30 points.
So, but then when that happened, I was like, oh crap, I am better than these guys. You know what I mean? And so like, right, and so like, that played like such a crucial role in my transition from here to there, because it made it a whole lot smoother, because now I'm like, I'm one of the guys. Damn, sorry guys.
No worries.
But no, like it made the transition a whole lot smoother, because like once I saw, I can, because the first game I was a little timid, because I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like the guys are faster, the guy, we same athletic, like
ability.
Right. So when I did what I did after talking to coach, I was like, oh crap,
I can mix it up with these guys.
Right. And so since then, I viewed myself as a level above them too.
Get
right. And so like everything I did was it's above them. Like from workouts to this, and so and then that's what kind of made the transition a lot smoother because I belonged. I felt like, and like, so when you feel like you belong, you can be in any country. You could be in Japan, not even know the language, but if you're good at what you do,
you fine.
You know what I mean?
Sport is universal.
Right. So I think that's what made the transition a lot smoother and a lot, because what I did here, I got to do that too. So
I'm sorry, I want to take you back a little bit because I just want to close off the high school part because, I mean, how important it is for South Africa to have, obviously, we're talking about high school being really good, and obviously having a professional league, because I mean we've spoken here to disabled athletes, we've spoken people who are not of the mainstream sport, and if South Africa now starts developing those other sports, that means more township boys can find a home in different aspects and find a way out of the hood as well. How important is that, and how high is South Africa's ceiling with actually turning basketball into something serious to mainstream as well?
I mean, I think you just said it perfect right now on finding a way out for the guys in the hood, right, in other sports and avenues, right, and obviously basketball being one of them. I say this right all the time. No matter what is going on in South Africa in sports or whatever, there's always going to be a Grant Como week. There's always going to be a Craven week. It's like every year. It does not miss a beat, like you know what I mean. And so I think structurally it helps develop the kids into the Springboks, the Sharks, whatever. So I think basketball structurally, if it got to that point where it's a well-oiled machine from the kids to like the under 18s, the 19s or whatever, I think that will make it so much easier, because like there's development leagues in Mtuba for rugby or whatever. So that's why you see a lot of the kids from Impange and Mtuba
make it to the Sharks.
Right, because there's programs there for that. So it's easy for them to say, if I play rugby, that's where I see myself. Right, and so I think whenever there's a reference point, it becomes easier. So like now that the BAL is even wanting to be here permanently, I think that will force a lot of doors to open just because the league basketball is here. It's going to be seen a lot. Right. So now even people that love the sport and want to invest in the sport, they see it. They see it. It's right here. You know what I mean? And they can see, oh, this kid Samkelo ended up there. I think there could be another one. Or another 10. You know what I mean? And so I think having the league here makes it a lot more, I think, like easier to, I guess, reference and just have, if you have an idea of, the same thing as the Craven Week for rugby, same for basketball, I think that will go such a long way.
And in terms of, I mean, you've mentioned your transition to the US, how it didn't take you long, and it could be a generational talent thing that you made that step a lot easier. Structurally, where are we then in terms of, if we had to compare the South African structure, or what still needs to be done for South Africa to because I mean, almost the SS DNA is to win. We want to do well in everything. That's in our nature. So like to improve the structures and obviously I know how crazy Americans are with sports and everything is to the
extra.
Insane.
So like what still needs to happen within the South African structure to then,
bro, basketball doesn't have a Craven Week, a Grant Como Week, or whatever, right? So that alone
needs to
happen because, like, from a very early age, right? How many Springboks started there? Almost all of them, right? So, like for basketball, it's just either you do club stuff, high school,
then
that's it.
It's too much of a gap.
You know what I mean, right? So, so I think if it starts like just right there, like having like a IPTs, because they used to have IPTs, but like now they in and out. They have them some years, they don't have them some years. So I think once kids play competitive like basketball from under 12, 13, 14 all the way up to 18, I think that they sharpen each other, obviously, because, you know, they're playing against high-level guys, you know what I mean, all the time. So imagine if you're playing against great competition from under 13, by the time you're 18.
How much more improved are you?
You know what I mean? So I think we should, as a basketball, like, you know, federation or whatever, should, like, you know, just look at rugby, bro. Like I said, bro, like there's never a year where there isn't Craven Week. You know what I mean? Like, so I think if we had like that, I think that would be, you know, so much because we far behind, bro. Like we like miles, bro.
What's nicer in the basketball, the appetite when you actually go into the high schools, especially private. I mean, within the Gauteng space, it is crazy to
massive.
see.
It's massive.
I mean, the St. John's Festival. And I've never seen like
the interest in.
They don't have lights, but like they bring out like tents. It's massive, and it's so good to see. Obviously, how there's such an appetite for
it. So you see, there's that. So it shouldn't be hard to
replicate it at a higher level,
right? And put in structures like, hey, look, you know, rugby does this. I think we could follow this blueprint from the rugby guys, and I think that'll form a more consistent. I think. Pitch for the guys to get better, because, you know, with every sport, the more you play,
the better you get.
Right, you know what I mean? And so I think, because it can't just be in high school only. You know, because you see the appetite in high school, it's crazy, right? And so, like, outside, it needs to be that too. Just, and then for kids to be motivated, bro. You know, like if you're in high school, like, I gotta go represent KZN, I gotta represent Gauteng, you know what I mean? And then, I gotta represent South Africa. You know, I think that gives it a little bit, you know, more push, more, you know, kids get motivated, they want to get better. So like now it's you know, you get to choose from a lot more. You know what I mean? So I think structurally that's what we need, you know, from, you know, the grassroots. So I think that's what we've been missing. That's what we're missing for us to become, you know, a basketball powerhouse. Crap, even in Africa. You know what I mean? So
So you moved from Bull City Prep to Northeast Oklahoma, right? That's how different was that then? Because was that now a progression of
course.
Look, I've dominated this level of basketball. Now I'm going to a higher level. That transition, did you still have the belief that whatever higher honors I achieve, I'm still better than the guys that I'm competing with? Right.
So the nice thing, right, with that, when I had that conversation with Coach, and, you know, I started playing again, because in high school you play against the guys that, you know, some of them, you know, end up in the NBA and end up, you know what I mean? Yeah, I played against a few of them. Right? And so, but like if
who name drop? You gotta name drop.
Keldon Johnson.
I see Keldon.
He plays for the Spurs right now. Keldon Johnson. Dave McCormack didn't play in the NBA. But it was Keldon Johnson. It was Keontae Johnson. Played against forget his name. Light skinned kid from Virginia. Played against Armando Baycott.
Okay.
Played against Isaiah Todd. It's a bunch of them that, you know,
name dropping.
Right.
Got a name
drop.
You
asked for it.
Got a name drop.
Right.
Got a name drop.
So, you know, like, if you can hold your own against those guys, so whatever level you progress to, like from high school to college, it's still the same mentality. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I was fine with them. I'm definitely gonna be fine, you know, over there. And so, and the nice thing with basketball, like, it's so situational, right? You need a coach to not, one, to believe in you, right? And two, to believe in your hard work and your talent, and then, you know, help you push that forward. You know, because some coaches will kind of hold you back, you know, but like if a coach really like believes in you in basketball, man, that alone, man, could get you places you never thought you could get to. So, you know, so that was that transition in Northeastern Oklahoma. Coach, you know, told me before even I got there, he's like, hey, look, man, you come here, you work as hard as you've been. There's no reason why you can't go play Division I basketball. You know, and, you know, we did that, and then that's what happened. You know.
I played one basketball game.
One in your entire life.
In grade 7, I was captain. I don't even know how, but enlighten me, because I had no basketball. Like, in terms of positions, how does one choose one? Is it purely based on strength? What is it? How does maybe explain the different positions for some of us who.
Explain your position, shooting guard.
Right. I'm like, okay, my position first. I play wherever like coach needs me to. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, obviously not the 5 because I'm not a center, right? Yeah. But like if a coach needs me to play like point guard, I'll play there. Yeah. Shooting guard, play there. Small forward, I'll play there. Yeah. You know, because I can guard 4 positions, right? And so when you can guard 4 positions, you can play whatever. Okay. Right? And so, but obviously my main position is the shooting guard. Yes. Right? So like there's 5 positions, right? Point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and a center. Yeah. Right? And so now they're all interchangeable, right? Okay. Because we see like a Wembanyama who is like 7, you know what I mean?
Goes to this thing, he goes past this roof.
Right, and he handles the ball like, you know, some point guards do, shoots the ball like some shooters, you know what I mean? And so, like, but before, positions were purely off of just your height. Okay. So that's why people will always say, oh, you short, so you point guard. Or you know, you tall, you gonna be center. And, you know, like now, it's just plainly just based on like
attributes.
What you're good at. Like if you're good at shooting, play the shooting guard. You know, if you're good at, you know, controlling the tempo of the game, make reads, probably a point guard. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you again, now the height matters still in the power forward and the center. Yes. So you know, if you're tall, yes, you're center. Box shots. If you know, tall, strong, fast, power forward. So yeah, I think that's where they differ. But again, if you can guard multiple positions in basketball, you can get plugged in anywhere. Yeah. Right? Yeah, because that's what, like when I was in college, I wasn't a shooting guard. Yeah. You know, I played the 4, I played the 3. You know, because coach was like, yo, we have older guys than you that play your position. Yeah. But we can have an opening here.
Okay, so it kind of fit. Yeah.
So I was like, I mean, I don't know play that position, but shit, I want to play.
Put me in,
right? So put me in. I'll figure it out. So like so that's where it came, like the guarding multiple positions came from, because like now I have to guard a 4, and then in turn the 4 has to guard me. Yes. And if a 4 is guarding me, I'm
you've got
killing it. You know what I mean? Like so like now I learn to play that position. So like now it's like I have a position, but I really don't, because like it's like whatever you need, I got you. Okay. So
and genetically, genetically South Africans compared to North Africa and the US, we're not the biggest, we're not the tallest. So how is that then when you dealing with those things? But you might be faster, or you might. What's that journey like then?
I don't know. Shout out to my mom for the genes, man. Shout out to my mom for the genes.
You what 1'9"? 1'9"?
Yeah, 1'9", something over there. 6'4". No, 4'4". Not that tall. I would love that. But shout out to my mom. Just because like I've always been like athletic, so I played above the rim a whole lot. So like when you can do that, the height stuff don't matter too much. You know what I mean? It helps, but it doesn't matter too much. And I've always been like, you know, a little stronger. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think. That's always been my advantage, just my athleticism and, you know, just playing above the rim. Yeah.
And 23, just one. I mean, I keep seeing 23 popping up. What's the background to that?
LeBron James.
Okay.
Yeah, LeBron James. LeBron, not Michael Jordan. Whoa. But I'm wearing Michael Jordans, right? Right. But this 23 was, you know, which is funny. When I moved to the U.S., because like in South Africa, I was wearing number 9. Don't know how that came about.
That's a soccer.
Right.
Ronaldo.
So you know what I mean? Like, I wore number 9, and so like when I got to the US, I wanted to wear number 9 again. They said, nah, we don't have number 9. You know what I mean? So like,
weird, bro.
Right. So I was like, what's the next number? Like 23 was like LeBron James, my favorite player. You know what I mean? It wasn't hard to choose. Right. So I wore that, and I've been wearing that since. And then I changed my number to 25 when I got to college, because again it was an older guy that wore number 23, so I couldn't take it from him, right? So the next available number was 25, and I love 25. I wore it throughout college. I was number 25 throughout college, and then when I started playing pro in the BAL, they didn't have 25.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to 23.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's my favorite number. I like it. So
yeah, it actually makes sense when you explain the positions, because I mean you were part of defensive teams of the year. Like you were there, but then you still could like average a lot of points. So it just actually makes sense that you can, go back and forward at both ends of the rim.
Right.
I wanted to find out about, that experience. Now you're at Oklahoma and there's a progression in your basketball, and you're seeing that, this thing it's serious. I'm in the middle of something really serious. Right. Back home, how was the perception? Did people think, Samkelo Cele?
No, I think it was always, I don't know if it was for, good or for worse. Yeah. It was always like, what is he doing? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if they was watching that to see if I'm doing good or like, I don't, you know how it is.
Yeah.
South African, bro. You know what I mean? So like sometimes they like to see you, do good. Sometimes, you know what I mean? So, it was never, it was just Cele or whatever. It was just like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
How is he doing that?
Piqued interest.
Right. So like I don't know. Again, like I don't know if it was for the for the best or for the worst. You know what I mean? But like, cause like it was like, yo, he's there. Oh, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Because obviously, like we've had a lot of guys from South Africa go, that side and come back, not even finish because how hard it was, or how, you know what I mean? How lonely it gets over there. So like but I think with the progression, just each level I got to was. Obviously learning the new system, how it goes over there, and it was always because it was crazy. It's like you go from this coach's system,
to a different one,
completely different. So it's like you're relearning each level you go to. You obviously it gets to a point where you bring it all together. You know what I mean? But you obviously and then you take what you need, from different coaches. But it was a great experience, man. Because for 2 years when I was in Oklahoma, we played zone defense. Yeah. Right. So we went from playing man-to-man defense to like just zone, only zone. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Played in that, thrived in that. Yeah. It was amazing. Got to D1. I was like, okay, zone was cool. Play man-to-man defense over here. Yeah. Like, oh shit!
You have to revert back,
right? So like now, it's like okay, cool. Now you have to like learn what you got to do on the weak side. What you got to do on the strong side. Yeah. One pass away from the ball, two passes away from the ball. It was like struggled a little bit with that, but again, from the hood, gotta adapt. Yes. Right? Picked it up and then obviously thrives. Right, and so like it's always been great, and obviously like now, as a professional, it's like. Okay, the zone, because I still play zone every now and again, but the principles that were instilled in me like 4 or 5 years ago still sharp because they were like hammered. You know what I mean? And so like the man-to-man, because I had to relearn that. Yeah. The principles now hammered. Yeah. Right. And so like now whatever we need, I got it because I learned from different people, and so like now as a pro, you can bring it all together. Yeah. So.
I want to know about the American experience, the off-the-field American experience, because in South Africa, when you come from Cape Town to Joburg, be careful in Joburg. Joburg is big, it's going to swallow you. Yeah. So now you're going to, the States it doesn't get any bigger than that, and also culturally, it's so different. As much as we might say, yes, we have our own hoods here, but like, how was that experience having to adapt?
Living in America
and living in the American experience.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I always say this, right? And I mentioned this earlier. Like, right, if you good at what you do, or you're good at what you're there for, it becomes a little easier, right? Like, people gravitate towards you a little bit, better, easier, right? So I was always fine at basketball, so it made everything else like fine.
Open circles,
it was easy, easy to like get to know people, whether it was girls.
Off the field, he was going there. He was going under.
So now, what I'm saying, like it was fun. It was fun. It was cool. It was fun, And when I got to college, that's when I got to experience like
frat parties.
It was fun. Like, just like, if you're good at what you do in college, bro, you're fine.
Especially for Samkelo. How was that experience for him? A man who can speak Zulu.
Yeah, it's African. So it was good. But I've always been like a focused, guy. So I never let that consume me or whatever. It was fun. It was good. But like because like my whole thing was always like, what you here for? What you here for? So everything was good. It was fun. We got to experience the college life, parties or whatever. It was always at
still focused.
Little doses because the main goal was still the main goal, right? So like it was definitely fun though. It was definitely fun.
As a pro, just coming back now to the BNL.
No, BAL. I never played the BNL.
You never played BNL?
I had offers to play in the BNL when I was in high school.
You play for the Merlins?
No, I didn't. I don't know why that's on my Wikipedia, but I've never played.
Nobody, like, you never wore a Merlins shirt.
Never played for the Marlins. So what happened with the Marlins? What happened with the Marlins was in high school. I was in grade 10 or grade 11. I think grade 11. They came and said, "Yo, listen, we have this thing going, BNL South Africa, which was picking up too at the time.
Yes.
Like, would you mind like playing for us? Because like I used to practice with them.
Yes.
I practiced with them and stuff like that. And obviously at practice, I was killing the old guys.
Yeah.
What I mean? So as a high schooler, right? So they were like, "Yo, come, I was a minor. I couldn't sign no contract,
17.
right? Yeah. I couldn't sign no contract. So I was like, I mean, if I'm here, I will play for you guys. But at that time, my goals was always the U.S. Right? And so I had learned early too that if you play professionally before your collegiate like stuff, you forfeit your eligibility, right? Okay. So once I learned that, I was like, okay, maybe I need to cool off the Marlins stuff. So I never played for the Marlins. I never played for the Marlins, and then I never played in the BNL. I never wanted to because I could play there while I was in high school. Okay. So when I was out of high school, I was really better than what I was in high school. So I was like,
no need going back there.
You know what I mean? So it's BAL. I've only played in the BAL here in South Africa.
Okay. BAL then. Yeah. That experience. Cape Town Tigers. Fun roster. Really fun roster. I obviously watched a couple of the games. I did press conference moderation for BAL this year, which I needed to put it out there. But really cool roster. But I wanted to find out the change because Road to BAL was a completely different roster.
Right.
And then BAL Playoffs was a completely different roster.
Right.
We'll get there because I need you to explain what happened without being too controversial, obviously. But how was the experience of playing at that high level? It's continental. We're playing against the best on the continent, with some imports. How was that experience playing BAL?
It was great, man. Just off the strength of, okay, this is our biggest stage, right? Yeah. And the nice thing with the BAL, I don't know if you guys knew this, it televises in the US as well. Yes. Across, and it's on like ESPN, it's on NBA TV. Yeah. So random people can watch this. Africa? From just that standpoint, it was so fun because even the guys that I went to college with, like when I was a freshman, people that from around the community in Oklahoma would like reach out and say, "Oh, just saw you on TV, bro." It was great just because it's a league, trying to follow the NBA's, blueprint and stuff like that, with the mixture of obviously understanding that we're in Africa and, play under FIBA or whatever. But it was great. It was great, man. It was great because we had some former NBA guys, come play. And then now the BL is so good and it's getting so much, better. Some guys that played in the NBA and got out of the league for whatever reasons try to use the BAL as a springboard back to the league, right? Because the coverage that the thing gets, So it was a great experience, man. Mr. Amadou Ford is doing a great job, and it's fast growing, like from season 1 to like last year season 4, like the difference and the growth was massive, right? So now I'm excited to see what season 5 is going to be like, and I'm more excited for the seasons to come because if it was like this in season 4.
Yeah.
I wonder how it's going to be in season 8. Season 10.
And it's still young though. I mean, it's only 4 seasons in, and
exactly,
it's still very
exactly. Over what 300 million like views total. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy coverage, right? So it's a great experience, man. And my first year coming into the Tigers, I was fortunate enough to play for a former NBA coach, Coach Rashid Hazard, right? And so with him, his teachings were purely like NBA level, high level stuff, right? And so like that made my transition from college to pro like so much easier because I had, he won a championship with the Lakers, was around with Kobe, and you know what I mean? So it was just like learning from him. It was like learning from the master himself, right? So like it was easy. It was good. It was fun. The competition, amongst the players is great. I think if the BAL can sustain, like, which it will, I think eventually it can sustain, like, maybe have a league that runs for like 8 months. Crap, even 10. I think it will make it to where guys don't want to leave the continent or the country or whatever.
They don't see the NBA as
right. Because the NBA is cool and fun. But if you can be the man at home, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better because it's like in each country I go to, like it's great, it's cool. Hey, but home, man. So like I think in that aspect, I think if it. Once maybe by season 7, who knows? I think the season will be a little longer. But it's great. The coverage, the attention, and how like they structure it. They structure it closely. To the NBA. Like what I mean. So it's the entertainment. Everything I think is good. It's good.
Going back to you're obviously in this professional environment, and there were a lot of moving parts with the Tigers. 2023 was different to 2024. I must say so myself. But road to BAL, different squads. BAL season itself, different squad. What happened there? How did the roster change? If you are at liberty to share some of the details in terms of how.
Fuck it, right? So We played with a different squad and a different pair of imports. The road to BAL, which those guys were incredible. Terrence Ferguson. Terry Larrier, former NBA guys. And again, so you see, like when you can hold your own and be nice when you're around those guys.
D-Wade's son also.
Zaire. He hates that.
Never say that.
Doesn't Zaire way. You know what I mean? Like if you acknowledge that his pops great, but like Dwayne Wade's son, it doesn't. So road to BAL, we were with Terry Ferguson, Terry Larrier, great man. It was Terry Larrier, one of the purest just shooters and scorers I've been around. Man. The guy could shoot the damn ball. You know what I mean? And so we played. We qualified for the BAL. So in my head and everybody's head,
no brainer.
These are the guys we're gonna go to war with. Because we just we went undefeated in the road to BAL. So why change something that's not broken? Then we got new guys. What? Why? Can't disclose why yet. Maybe at a later stage.
That's
we'll
fine.
Convene and
that's
talk
fine.
about that. But new guys come BAL. But again, the motivation to, I guess, win and play in the BAL was so. I wanted to do it so much that it didn't matter who we had. You know what I mean? But again, we had Billy Preston. Was Billy Preston? Who was the other import? Cartier was with us for
Cartier Diarra,
he was with us. So it was Billy. Who else was our import? I think it was Billy.
Diarra.
No, Diarra. He was with us in the road to BAL. He was with us. So we had Deshaun, but he couldn't play in the BAL because don't know. He couldn't play.
Long story.
Long story. He couldn't play. So we only had one American import, which was Billy Preston, which was good. We played, and then we got to get to the playoffs. Another new teammates. It was good. But I think when you're a professional, right? Like teammates come and go.
Yeah.
Right? Teammates come and go. And I think if the core is, like solid, I think, any addition, additional players will add and, so, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it changed so much, but
for the South African players, I mean yourself, Nkosinathi,
Slepe, Lebo, Dylan.
How was that though for you guys? Did it mean a lot to you guys that there was this flagship African tournament that was coming to South Africa, and now you could be the guys in your own country? Was that the motivation for you guys as the South African players in that Cape Town Tigers roster?
I believe so, right? Because they were with the Tigers longer than I have been, right? I was in college when the Tigers started, right? So for me, it was like, come home, start your career, blah 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 blah. I was like, I don't know. Oh, this is what we do. I was like, oh, okay. I come home, and then when I was home, I saw like just the level of seriousness the guys treated this with, and it was great to see. And obviously, getting to represent South Africa in Africa, I think that meant more than just going to play, right? So it definitely did like motivate us a little bit to fly the South African flag, because every game we won, you always saw the flag and stuff like that. So it definitely was a motivating factor for sure.
That decision to come back home, how hard for you to make the decision to come back home? I mean, because we generally get to see it in football. Guys go to Europe, and obviously it's weather, all that stuff is different. For you, I mean, you done with what you needed to do in the US, and what is the thinking then to say, obviously, like you've mentioned, they're representing South Africa, flying the South African flag. How, like, what's going through your mind to say? Because most people say you established in the US. Why come back?
Right. So the whole thing was right. So I got done playing in the US, and so the seasons college usually end around like March, April. Yeah. So I got done with our season because we lost like I think our second game in the playoffs. We lost, and then it was okay. Anything basketball wise is gonna start happening like June, July. You know what I mean? Like September. Yeah. So what are you gonna do
for that period?
Yeah. You know what I mean? So. And then obviously the BAL was there, which started in March, right when I finished, So it was like, instead of looking at it as a negative to come back home, it was like, okay, you can come back home, play, get paid. You know what I mean? Like fresh out of college, right? Because when you're in college, I ain't gonna lie, like D1 athletes get spoiled so much, bro. Like, they get spoiled so much that you don't know what a bill is. Almost, you get money for food, money for this, housing is done, like is paid for, whatever. So when I was done, it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like find a way to car, gas. So it was like, okay, go home, play, and then what this could do for you is more than what you could have done just chilling, working out, or whatever, right? So the coach that's had the biggest influence in my life is, rest in peace, Coach Zulu. Yeah. He, saw a kid from Claremont, it was like, it could be something, you know what I mean? And like even him watching my BAL games, like he'd text me, like one of, his like last text to me, it was like, see, you're doing amazing, you were born for the biggest stage, you know what I mean? Like, and that was shortly before he passed, you know what I mean? And so like, he meant a lot more to me than just a coach, you know what I mean? He was a father figure to me and stuff like that. And so from the fundamental, like, point, he definitely had the most like impact. And obviously, like as I grew, obviously I've had other coaches that impacted my game, but fundamentally, he did for sure, because he laid the foundation, and that was later, which was later nurtured by other people and stuff like that. So shout out to Coach Zulu, and Coach has it just in terms of adding to my basketball knowledge. You know, and then in college I played for Sean Woods, former NBA guy, great. You know, when I was in college, I didn't think he was a great coach because I thought he was crazy. You know what I mean? I thought he was nuts. No, seriously, I thought there was something wrong with him. You know what I mean? Like, just from how intense he was. Like, you know, just, you know, and so, like, once I left his program.
Hindsight.
Right. I was like, wait, hold on. He actually taught me this. He actually, you know what I mean? And so, you know, shout out to him for, like, just even my defense and stuff like that. It was, you know, it was him. Like, I didn't see it that time. I thought he was a crazy motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, I think, and then, like, lowest, I don't know. I don't believe in, like, those. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because I believe everything it happens for a reason, and you know what I mean. It helps you, you know, prepare for what's to come, and you know what I mean. And so, I don't believe in low moments, bro. I really don't, because, you know, again, I'm from the hood. I don't think it gets lower than that. You know what I mean? So like, so when you're from the hood, I think you have a little bit perspective. You feel me? Like,
seen worse.
Way worse. You know what I mean? Like, so I you know, because everything that's happened through basketball has been a plus, like I mentioned earlier. So my highest moment, though, for sure, has been killing and playing, you know, for the New York Knicks. You know, I think, you know, that's as high as, you know, it goes so far in my career, you know, and obviously looking to, you know, do more, obviously, but so far that's, you know, that's been, I guess, my highest. You know. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I'm lying. It's not.
Not Knicks.
No, it's not. I'm lying. Sorry. Before the BAL this season, I got to represent South Africa. In Mozambique. Yeah. We lost, but, you know, it was my first time in green and gold. You know what I mean? Like, because I always missed it. When I was in high school, I was either too young or too old. You know what I mean? I always missed it. So, like, I only got to represent South Africa when I was in the US. Like, I'm representing South Africa, but it's not the same
when you're wearing.
You know what I mean? Like, to a point where, bro, like I realized this, right? The New York Knicks, obviously the highest where you want to get to in basketball. But when I was in Mozambique, wearing the green and gold, singing the national anthem, bro, I teared up. Like, my eyes were
different experience.
Just crazy.
You still remember Samkelo Cele?
Come on.
What's it? Spangled?
Star Spangled.
I'll never forget. Cause see, it's like this. Like, when I'm away or whatever, always call my guys. Always call my guys. On the phone the whole time. You know? So, but no, it was crazy because I had, like, you know, whenever guys would say, like, how powerful it is to represent your country, I never understood that until, because I always, in my head, I always thought I represent South Africa when I'm in the US, when I'm there, whatever. But, like, when I was, like, you know, singing the national anthem, I was like, oh shit,
this is big.
You know what I mean? So, like, I teared up, bro. It was I couldn't even carry on singing because I was crying, bro. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I never cried, bro. You know what I mean? So that was like the highest for sure. And obviously the Knicks is, you know, but
cherry on top.
But now that was definitely like, cause when I was with the Knicks, there was never a time when I cried where, like, you know, I was like, you know, but I did when I was playing for South Africa, you know. But I don't downplay the moment of the Knicks though, for sure.
I want to speak about the Knicks experience because that was, I mean, from a South African point of view, now people look at you differently. They're like, yo, he's representing an NBA side now.
Right.
I saw so many interviews after that announcement.
Right.
But before it came about, when did you get the call? How did you get the call? What was it that the Knicks saw in Samkelo Cele to say, look, there's a summer league, come try out. Let's see what you got for the Knicks during the summer league.
Yeah. I think I guess from them watching, you know, my early career, right, in the BAL, because the first year it was interesting. The call was supposed to happen after the first year, you know, and obviously whatever happened, and it never happened the first year, you know, but because they were watching since, you know what I mean, like, it was them, the Chicago Bulls, I think, because the Chicago Bulls had actually, like, reached out, like, but again, it never materialized to, anything. Yeah. But, but watching from, the career that I had, and then the second year was even crazier because everything that I did was towards that anyway. Yes. You know what I mean? Because it was like, for whatever reason, y'all didn't make the call after the first season. Yes. Now, I'll give you
an extra reason.
Right. So yeah, that's all it was really. Yeah. Just they were interested, but they didn't pull the trigger. Yeah. And the second year tried to force their hand to like, you know what I mean, like pull the trigger. And it's still like, because obviously after the whole thing, the feedback was crazy. Yeah. It was good, and again, just probably don't know what at this point, but again, just try to give it more reason to either call me back or whatever. But yeah, it's been good because the experience was great, man. Was a true professional. Did what I was asked. Yeah. Just was a professional all around, and so I don't think any organization would be wrong by having me, right? So it was really good. It was really good, man. But yeah, the call came about, because I had a really, really great season the second year. So after the season, like a couple weeks after, I was home chilling. I was in Durban. Was with my brother actually. He gave me a call like, "Hey man."
How's that call? Like, in that moment?
It was crazy because like. I had to like act cool. I'm talking to them. Like, inside, you're like, it's like, it's like, oh, but again, it was something I wanted. Yes. Right. So when they called, like, before the hype, I was like, fuck, finally. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so it was, that's what it was. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, it was about time. Yeah. Almost. You know what I mean? And so. That's what it was. But I definitely was hyped though, for sure, because after we hung up, I was hyped. Yeah. Yo, what the? You know what I mean? So yeah, it was great. But again, like when you have goals and stuff like that, once you get to them, like
they shouldn't surprise you.
So it's like, yes, it's happening, but it's like, shit, finally, or about time. You know what I mean? So like, that's what it was. And then I think. Yeah, it's been I don't know, that alone gave me so much like more confidence in my game because again, I did it at that high level and I didn't struggle. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't want to say it was easy, but it
wasn't a struggle.
No, but it was fun. It just it made me believe that there's no level that I can't play. You know what I mean. And so like it gave me confidence and just believe that my career is headed the right direction and I'll be just fine.
And now I mean you're bouncing between the two countries now. Right. First of all, who's managing that from your point? Is it you taking care of all of that stuff now, or how does that work? That you are basically US, South Africa.
My management. Rock Nation.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, Rock Nation.
The Rock.
KZN belongs to Rock Nation. KZN belongs to Rock Nation.
Who else there? Lungi?
Lungi. Cheslin. Yeah. Siam Turner. Yeah. Big people there.
Yeah. Apelele, I think.
Yeah.
So but they managed that, and then and now,
Beast.
And so like now, I think where I'm at in my career now is, obviously I've seen that level, and if I don't like go back and play in the NBA or whatever, it's like, okay, fine, where can we make the most cheddar? You know what I mean?
Find opportunities.
Right, because like there's no level again that I believe I can't play, right? So now it's like, yes, we'll play, but where can we make the most money? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? So, and that's why I'm looking at like different markets to, like try to, because I believe I can play in any level, right? So whether it's the Asian market, Northeastern market, European, wherever, I think wherever wherever the money makes sense. I think money opportunity makes sense. I'm there, So yeah, that's.
But your first preference, obviously.
Yeah, of course. And again, and the nice thing, with obviously being a part of like the NBA organization for the brief, while that I was, it gave me perspective, right, on all the things that I'd heard from the outside, and got because like most guys were like, summer league is this, summer league is that, political. Da, 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 da. I was like, I mean, if it is, let me go experience it myself. You know what I mean? And, so I go, I do that, and there wasn't all the way wrong. There wasn't all the way right too. You know what I mean? So I think with any moment or thing, I think people have to always experience it firsthand for themselves, and then they could decide. You know what I mean? Because I always say this: people's luck is different. You know what I mean? Like how your situation can be with that team, totally different from what mine could be. So it was great, and if I played there, great. If I don't, it was great. You know what I mean? Because money is what
drives.
People like shy away.
It's a career.
I mean,
you gotta eat. You know what I mean?
Eat.
Exactly. You gotta pay bills. Gotta stay.
That's why I love the Brazilians in football. Those guys. They're like, I come from the favelas. I'm here to make money for whatever span, and then
exactly.
Talk to me, because you've touched a little bit about it. The NBA is not the only league or place that basketball exists.
Right.
There's the European market, there's the Asian market. And basketball is big not only just in the United States of America, it's big in other countries and in other continents as well. How important Africa as well. How important is that to a young aspiring basketball player to keep their options open and not just look at the NBA as the only pinnacle?
Right.
There's the Asian market, there's the European market. I can play in Africa as well, and there are opportunities to make that money and be as successful as somebody that plays in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It's a lot of leagues. Obviously, BAL being one of them, and trying to get to the NBA's level. Of course. There's the CBA in China. There's the EuroLeague in Europe. And then in Europe, the EuroLeague is the pinnacle, but there's also plenty other like
below
leagues,
that.
Right. That pay good. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And so it's plenty of Middle East. Middle East is great. Obviously if you go to the safer regions. Yes. Of course. You know what I mean. But I think knowing that and finding the perfect market for you. I think that's another challenge. Because some guys, I know a lot of guys that have played in the NBA, played in South America, played in Mexico, played in Canada, played in Europe, played in here, played in China, whatever. And and they say, like, one of the guys, I don't know if I can say his name, but he played in the NBA, played a lot of places. I'll say his name off camera because I'm not sure if he'd be comfortable with me saying it. He said he's loved everywhere he's played, made a lot of money, but when he was here with the Tigers, that's where he wanted to be. Like, he loved it. He said it was the best place. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, oh crap. So if it could be a team here in South Africa that will
give them that,
you know what I mean? Will pay, because honestly, like, I always tell this to my friends that South Africa is literally the best country, like, in the world, without being biased. This is without bias, because guys that are not in the U.S. can get to experience a different culture that isn't too different from, you know what I mean, like what they're used to.
A lot of similarities,
right? So when they hear, they're comfortable. If they like in the Middle East or Asia or whatever, it's like
completely
culture. You feel me?
Huge culture shock.
So here we bridge the gap of it's Africa, but
modernized.
Mixed. So he said that this is like, out of all the places I've played in, this is like if the Tiger situation was great enough, this is where I'll be like the whole time, right? So markets are super important. Right? It's nice to know that they are there, but like finding the market that favorable to you, I think is also like super, super important, you know? So like, if it was so happen that like home was, a perfect situation where, the Tigers or whatever entity is here and is here to stay, I think, I'd be okay with that.
So for right now, I'm your agent here. If not the US, which other market is enticing you right now?
It's a lot of money to be made, in the Middle East. There's a lot of money to be made in Asia, South America, you know what I mean? And so, again, because basketball is so tricky, bro, like situation.
Yes.
Situation is like super, super important because you could be this great of a player, but if you go into a bad situation, you can't showcase that, right? So like, so it's important to always...
Productive environment.
Right. So it's always important to, like just try to find the best situation, because I can choose one right now and could not be the one, right? And so I try to wait for or look for like, the situation that's going to favor me, you know what I mean? Because I hate it when I'm against the politics of whatever, so if the situation isn't what I feel is right for me, then, you know what I mean? And it's not hard for me to say no. You know what I mean? So like, right now we figuring that out. You know what I mean? And once I'm happy with the situation, I'll be sure to, you know what I mean? Like obviously let you guys know now. But
Dynamo Club, Burundi. How was that?
That was a pit stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that, bro. Because
really?
Yeah.
Still one of those situations that just didn't.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. All right, no worries.
It was a pissed off because I was there for like 25 days.
Yeah.
It was like so summer's along, bro. Like like summer starts like April, May.
Yeah.
And if you like not doing anything in the summer, you get restless, you get bored.
Yeah.
Bills gotta be paid. So it was towards the end of the summer. So I was like, cause I was going home anyway too. So I was like, let me stop there.
On your way back home. Yeah.
So it was never it was gonna be just for that period. It was never gonna be whether it was a great situation or bad. It was just that, and it was never gonna be more.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll tell you more about that.
All right. What does the future hold for Samkelo Cele?
Just I think I'm early in my career, year 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, in my career. You know what I mean, and I believe I can play basketball until I think for 10 more years, being at a high level, right? And so like now it's about just maneuvering and finding the perfect situation, the perfect market. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to be here this year, be there next year, be there. You know what I mean? So like
stability.
Yeah, right. So like right now, like I said, like it's the market I want to be in. I want to stay there, grow there, because again, like stability is the best thing that you can afford a human being, right? And so we're just trying to maneuver that right now, and then whatever market that I end up playing in, that's where I want to stay and build, because I think if you stay and build somewhere, it's better than just being all over the show. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking to do right now. And when I find the right situation in the market, that's where I'll stay. Hopefully for the rest of my career. And, so that's because I've seen a lot of guys that have played there. I don't want that, man. I think it takes a toll. Like you hear one season, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So again, that's why if the BAL becomes like stable, I'll be okay being home. You know what I mean? So but it's just waiting for that, because if I can't be on 6 months and off another 6.
Good.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'd rather, if I'm on, I'd rather be on for 10, off 2. On 10, off 2. You know what I mean? So I think that makes more sense. And it makes more sense financially too. You know what I mean? So I think once I figure out the market that I want to be in, that's where I'm going to stay for my long career. God willing.
You're 26 now, right?
Yes.
How important is longevity in basketball? Because you get to see guys like Kobe, who played until 20 plus seasons.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah,
20. LeBron
like
22.
He's a freak. He's 40 years old and he's still going.
Yeah.
How important is that to Samkelo Cele? I know you said now you're going to the gym afterwards,
right?
Taking care of your body, making sure that there's longevity in your legs and in your body to be able to play those 10 seasons that you're referring to.
Right. It's super important, bro, because the functionality of your body, I think, we don't take serious enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if your ankles are strengthened enough, like you can roll it and still be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And come back. So like longevity is super important because again, our bodies are our money makers, right? For the time that we have, right? And so how long your time period is dependent on how well you take care of your body, right? And so I think taking care of your body is super important. The longevity is super important because if I'm not in the office at 40, great. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to be still like chasing a basketball at 40 though. You know what I mean? But like longevity is always super important. And I think taking care of your body is like the most important thing that any athlete in any sport can do. Because again, we're our money is as good as our bodies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Nonce, you covered. You good? Sam, so like for me, having been somebody who's watched pretty closely and intimately, I mean, this is great insight because it gives me perspective about what drives you and what you go through in terms of your decision making, where to go, how to go about your career. So thank you so much for availing the time that you have for us because I think that's so important to be able to understand, and that's what we strive to do here on the show, to understand what goes on with athletes and how they go about it. Sometimes we have an outside view and we don't have that intimate, close view of it. So we really appreciate your time. All the best.
Appreciate it, bro.
We'll obviously keep watching, keep supporting and rooting for you because I mean, South Africans worldwide, man. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we want. So yeah, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
And please subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you so much, Samkelo Cele. Thank you so much, Nono Pongolo, and we'll see you the next time.